As we move along, we now have a fireside chat between Mr. Venugopal S. Arcot, Director Solutions Consulting, ServiceNow, India, and Varun Aggarwal, Senior Associate Editor, ETCIO. The topic of the discussion is digital transformation for the next normal.
Welcome back. In this session, we are talking about digital transformation for the next normal. And we have with us a very special guest, Venugopal Arcot, who's the Director and Head Solution Consulting at ServiceNow India. Welcome, Venu.
Yeah, hi, thank you very much. Very good afternoon to everyone.
Venu, we are talking about the kind of impact businesses have had due to the pandemic. I just want to understand from your perspective that, how were your customers impacted, and, how did you really work with them on this?
Yeah, I think this is one of those, questions that I have been asking to my customers as well, in terms of this impact, as nobody has ever seen this, and I hope nobody ever sees this in future, but that's not in our hands. But what we went with is an approach of a complete reach out and empathy, ability to listen to customers about their wellness. There's so many parts to it, but I will structure this in two parts. The first part is about when it struck, there was a need for us to check, not only check, but also ensure that our customers check on their employees as well, right? So we released something called a COVID-19 program, customer care program, wherein we released some 4 applications for free for our customers, which talked about how do we ensure that our customers' employees are safe. So they did a health survey and checked their wellness. So we allowed them to do this survey to check their wellness. Secondly, if they are affected, declare that they are affected. Something that you see in recent applications like Arogya Setu that came thereafter. But it was imagined at that point of time and given to our customers, can you do this? Thirdly, can we list between the people who are impacted and not impacted? And fourthly, have a system to respond to their needs through an ecosystem. So these were the things that we did immediately. But it didn't stop there. We just transitioned a few months later, and today when we talk, a couple of months earlier also, safe return to workplace has become a bigger challenge as well, because there are certain regulatory norms, there are certain protocols. So this requires us to, so we came up with an extension of what we released as an application to help our customers during this situation. We came with this return to workplace safely. Return to workplace, return to workplace, return to work, return to workplace, work readiness or workforce readiness, we call, on workplace readiness. So there are so many aspects in terms of readiness itself. Now, this involves, am I as an employee ready? So that option should be given to that employee as well. And the readiness has been taken. The survey shows that there is 50% of the employees would like to work from home. So I would like to prepare my workspace and employees for the 50% of the return to employees. Now, you need to have a PPE equipment to serve if there are any issues, the workplace, the mapping of the workplace, everything including contact tracing. So we came up with this to help our customers during this time. This is something that we've not done in the past. We've always talking about business and business, but doing this for our customers to go through this unprecedented times was really overwhelming for us.
Venu, if you look at the current situation, most companies are still trying to stabilize their business. And at this time, do you think CIOs or even a company like yours should look at innovation? Is the right time to look at innovation instead of focusing on stabilization?
That's a good question. I have been talking to almost as many CIOs across the enterprise, across the country, even outside as well. The role of the CIO today is transforming to a greater extent. The power of the CIO is rechristening itself to a newer role. They are becoming a bridge across the enterprises. Imagine CEO who is responsible for shareholder value has aspects of governance under him that will I be able to deliver this on time and as per plan. The COO is touching across the organization for operational efficiency is finding ways to make those objectives possible. And last, with regard to areas like CHRO and experiences of security comes in about how employees are delivering their services. Today, the engagements are defined by experiences. Today's youngsters, the Gen Z experience is far more important in terms of providing what you have in personal experience with Ubers of the world affecting their mindset. How do we provide them in the workplace experiences? CIO's role is transforming to a greater extent. They are the bridge to all of these personas I mentioned, the CEO, COO, CHRO, the CISO, including the facilities head for that matter. Amazing role to play in terms of transforming the enterprise today.
Especially when it comes to looking at innovation, do you see this as the ideal time?
What happens when this is the time, they say, right? This is the time and now is the time. All this impact is based on three important parameters that has been conventionally there, like people, process, and technology. But the question today is being asked is in terms of how do I simplify the process? How do I make it frictionless? Which means that the interfaces between these collaborating entities are governed in a more simplified manner and not abstracted by bottlenecks. So what is important? The technology plays an enabling role in terms of making this possible. And technology is not just about looking at in silos, but also collaborating with each other. And at a user level, it gives one single experience, which is the mobile experience.
Absolutely. And, on one hand, we are talking about collaboration in the organization. We are talking about different tools that you can use to collaborate. One thing that's kind of been missing is about collaboration within corporates. So how important is that? And how do you see companies collaborating with each other rather than, within their own premise?
This is a very interesting question. We've seen that how Toyotas are collaborating with Maruti's to develop a certain brand and co-owning delivery frameworks and things like that. But if you see, organizations, enterprises are not singular. They are together as an enterprise for a common goal. If you go to an airport, they are dependent on airlines, they are dependent on cargo services, they are dependent on various other vendors, transportation, and other vendors with a North Star of regulations in place. Same is the case with healthcare. They are important in terms of how their partners like GE supply their equipments for scanning and their resources are available for doctors to smoothly work together. They are all different entities, but what's connecting them is the dot. The connecting dot is the goal. So there has to be, it's a very important time of the hour to think, how do we bring a shared vision, a shared goal among those partners? When a ship from some country reaches a port in Mundra, and then the orchestration begins to move between the customs departments to the logistics functions, which is a different company altogether, and being able to track and trace where they are going, giving that visibility, and also informing the other sellers and buyers who are involved in this whole intricate web of orchestration of the enterprise itself. So it is time for all of these entities to come together for one shared vision, I call it.
Absolutely. I mean, this is extremely important because right now it's more about humanity working together instead of individuals fighting their individual battles. When it comes to enterprises, we used to talk about 5-year plans, 10-year plans, and now a long-term plan looks like a 6-month plan. So if you look at the short-term or medium-term focus areas, where do you think that enterprises should focus on in terms of bringing back growth? And when it comes to technology, what role can technology play in this?
See, at the end of the day, enterprises are built for long-term growth and long-term vision and a long-term purpose. ServiceNow is a purpose-built organization in terms of driving these technology changes for our customers. Our purpose is to make the work better for people. So there need to be a short term, and short term, as you say, the time for short is shorter. The time for mid is short. The time for long probably is mid. But how do we define that without sacrificing the quality of the outcome, the quality of vision, the quality of purpose? So hence, what ServiceNow does and advocates is in terms of, can I help you in solving some of the spend that you do on software and hardware, which is the low hanging opportunities that you may have to optimize the cost? What are you doing about your compliance? Because if you are compliant, if you're catering to a specific industry, you're governed by regulatory standards. And if you're global, you are governed by even more different law of the land as well as GDPR compliances. So how do we ensure that those are taken care? And security. If you're in remote places, how do you ensure that you are secure in managing and working with your devices? Again, last before one is IT resilience. How do you ensure something happens? How do you come up? And last is the return to workplace safely. So we focus on this as the immediate and short-term needs of our customers. If we fulfill this, what is long-term? Mid-term, I would say. Mid-term is immediate. Next 6 months, I have to plan, months I have to start now, is employee experience. I see more and more of our customers, may it be banks, may it be manufacturing companies, may it be telecom, more and more of them are talking about employee experience. Today, this employee experience is disintegrated into 10 plus tools, which start from hiring to retiring. But as a user, if somebody is getting married and changes the surname, you don't need to shift into multiple user screens to do that. You should be able to given one screen, one mobile device, and that should be it. And it should not be in the operation side as well to look at multiple systems. So employee experience is another midterm initiative, and then the customer experience. Customer experience is a cusp between the short and middle, because customer is important, but to what level of experience do we want to take? There is where there's a lens needed to look into it. Where are we failing? We are failing at where giving the agent an experience of looking into multiple ways of this customer's history in one single pane of glass. We are missing the ability to predictive and proactively tell the customer that there is something deteriorating, can I help you? So, and giving that transparency. So this is what the power that we give. We call it as agent workspace. We call it as vendor workspace when you are managing multiple vendors. So giving that option to give that. At last is about we have to have business growth in the mind. More and more companies are going through mergers and acquisitions. This is the time for mergers and acquisitions. To have your own assets, and in the line of assets of its relationship between the child to a parent, helps us to either merge or divestiture or outsource. These matter decisions can be taken so smoothly with technologies like ServiceNow, bringing in from complete applications portfolio view of it, so that you can just smoothly move from one organization to another organization, but again, keep it with the parent organization and use it as a shared service also. So there are multiple dimensions to looking at it, but this is where I see a lot of interactions are happening, where mergers and acquisitions, divestitures and outsourcing stuff.
That's a very interesting perspective. One final question I wanted to ask you is, we've talked about the old normal. We are talking these days about the new normal. How do you look at digital transformation for the next normal?
See, the next normal is where we talk about the digital transformation being extended towards cognitive science and being able to make it possible, the impossible, right? Digital is, and will be the driver in terms of transforming the business growth. But what is transforming? If you take, for example, Industry 5.0, Industry 4.0, they thought this is end of human. We are bringing in robotics and robots are going to perform it. They lost the human element out of it. But later, as the time passed by, there is this human element that has always been a key part in terms of driving change. Whether it is the welding job that this worker is doing and the next tool and the processes are getting added, or the doctor doing a scanning from a remote place, making his mind work on a scanner and driving this whole operations possible. So cognitive science from a wearable device to the doctor that is performing, to the machine that is performing, it's all connected devices. Making this connection possible in any landscape that may be, whether it is manufacturing, whether it is healthcare, whether it is automotive, it is what it defines. That's the next normal.
So the human-machine interface, you think, is the next most important thing that everyone needs to look at?
And ServiceNow is well positioned to help and deliver these success for our customers.
Excellent. With that, thank you so much for joining us, Venu. It was an excellent discussion. We look forward to interacting more. Thank you.
Thanks, gentlemen, for that wonderful session. Dear viewers, I would request all of you to stay online to listen to more cutting-edge content from industry leaders.